dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me.
Welcome to Bristol, Tennessee, and the Bristol Motor Speedway for round number 5 of the GUNR4sR Cup Series. I'm Tony Trapasso. He's David Modespaw. Thank you so much for making us part of your Tuesday evening. No, don't adjust your channel because your regular cast of misfits that normally announce these races unfortunately have real life striking right now. So you're in the capable hands of us as we're getting ready to click it on over to lone qualifying. Let's see who's going to be the first one to roll. It looks like Nick Schneider is going to be the first one to get it going in that Hendrick Cars number 5. We're going dirt racing, Dave. Are you excited?
Indeed, we are. Bristol Dirt, the last great coliseum of the NASCAR circuit here. And I don't know if we can really say the last great coliseum anymore with the LA Coliseum kind of being thrown in there, but
you're not wrong.
Should provide some great racing nonetheless. And been watching these drivers in practice, and it looks like they are absolutely ready to go here.
A lot of them right on the ragged edge, but that's to be expected when you've got a surface that's constantly changing and it can go from slick to tacky to ripping your shoes off wet at times. As looks like Schlosser in the 40, going to set initial quick time. There he is Gilbert immediately bumping him off in the Celis number 34, or 35, I mean. Aiello Jr. going third quick. Second lap for Schlosser. Does not improve. John Easton out on track right now in that Ford Mustang. And with some of the other leagues that I get to broadcast, it's refreshing to see that the Ford Mustang actually painted as a Mustang, because I have seen it done up as a Chevy Lumina, I've seen it done up as a Volvo, I've seen it done up as a BMW, a BMW, an Audi, and a Volkswagen. So
I will say one of the most creative I have seen so far, the old Charger paint scheme.
yes,
I have seen a couple of guys manage to convert it into a decent looking Dodge Charger. So definitely some cool things you can do with these cars, but refreshing to see the tried and true Ford colors there on the 4.
Well, Dave and I used to joke last year, because there was a league that Dave Regal and I were doing, that somebody had painted a black GM Goodwrench number 3 Ford Mustang. Every time I say those words in that order, I smell burnt toast.
I mean, it's one of the greatest tributes in NASCAR, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To put it on a Mustang, maybe not so much, but I appreciate the thought there and kind of throwing it back to the king.
Absolutely, and it did look like one of those, early '90s Luminas from a certain angle, until you saw the taillights. So it looks like 6 guys are going to lay time in qualifying here, as we're still waiting on Reggie Packard, Travis Bennett, and Adam Montez Oca. Is that how you said
I believe it is Montez de Oca, yes.
And if we're saying that wrong, I would like to apologize, considering nobody gave me a cheat sheet tonight. A couple interesting tidbits about this track. This is not the first iteration of Bristol dirt. As a matter of fact, the first time they tried it was back in the mid-'90s. They wanted to bring the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series here, and they did for a 3-race series in between the spring race and the night race. And you were talking to people, a couple of years later, and they were still finding clumps of clay up in the grandstands. So definitely an interesting experiment. You got to commend the folks that run this joint for, willing to experiment with this, because it's very easy for especially some of the lower divisions that get to run on this dirt circuit. Not exactly user friendly, and they can tend to dig the track up pretty decently, and conversely they end up annihilating whatever's underneath it, especially if you get heavy rain.
100%. And a track like Bristol, right? A lot of time, a lot of effort, and for a track to be willing to go through that pain, right? Say that you have some rain and the track does get torn up. Bristol wasn't afraid. They said, "Hey, we'll do it. We'll put on a good show here, and hopefully the fans love it, right?" And absolutely. I think that's what it's all about, just taking those risks.
I can think of 2 tracks in the country that do it yearly. Bristol is one of them. The other one is up in Oswego, New York, for Super Dirt Week. They clay over that 5/8 mile flat asphalt track every October and put the big block modifieds on there for a week. But let's take a quick look at our starting grid tonight. Relatively short field, only 9 haulers making it into the grounds. Chris Gilbert setting quick time with a 19.665. Over a tenth to the good over Nick Schneider in the 5. Still waiting on a couple of guys to grid up here. John Easton going to start inside row number 2 with Matt Slouser. Mike Aiello and Jordan Wenzel going to roll it from row number 3. Row 4 is going to go to Reggie Packard and Adam Montez de Oca. And starting shotgun on the field is going to be Travis Bennett. So 9 cars scheduled to roll it here tonight. 100 and... Excuse me. Let's get that clicked over. 130 laps of scheduled distance, 70% fuel fill, and 5 sets of tires to get it done. The only thing is, I don't think they're going to need all 5 sets of tires.
Certainly not. And as the race goes on, as you see, we're starting kind of already darkened here. I think that will only help with the tire wear as we continue into the night.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you take a look right now, the track temperature has already fallen below the ambient air temperature as the sun is starting to set. So 4-mile-an-hour winds, you're not going to feel it here at Bristol. 56% relative humidity, which means this track is going to be nice and tacky. Partly cloudy skies. And no, folks, your eyes are not deceiving you. The lights are coming on around this joint as we're getting ready to turn these guys loose. As the field works its way down the back straightaway, 130 laps of scheduled distance. Thank you so much for making this a part of your Tuesday evening. The only thing that's left for me to say is, it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some barbecue because it's time to get it on in the middle 10s. Race fans, it's show time! Green flag comes
out, down, and away they go. Chris Gilbert hopping out to that early lead with Nick Snyder following behind there, battling a little bit with Eason out of that first turn. Looks like Snyder will come out on top with Eason following behind in that third position.
Slosser giving Eason a little bit of pressure, and here comes the 81 of Wenzel, getting a good run up on that cushion. Oh, jumps the cushion, bangs the wall. The 40 is going to maintain low, and the 81 is going to drop back a little bit. Already up one spot over Mike Aiello Jr. Aiello fading back quickly. Packard and Montez de Oca did not get good starts. Travis Bennett elected not to even start at all. As lap 1 in the books, Montez de Oca is already on pit road. And you can see some damage on that Sundrop Chevy.
As they continue to roll around here, he is only going to lose time, lose laps. Aiello taking over the 7th position there now, and Reggie Packard up 1 and Wenzel up 1 as they continue to go around turns 1 and 2 here.
As field's starting to get a little strung out, a little bit of claw back as the 04 of Easton is leading the 40 of Slosser. Slosser's starting to reel him back in a little bit, slowly but surely. You just got to hit consistent lines and keep searching for the moisture in the track. Right now you can see that dark line where everybody's running. That's the cushion. That's where all the loose dirt has been thrown after qualifying. And you put the right side tire up there, and it acts like a little bit of a berm and gives you some pretty good grip up in there. But you're going to see that top lane start to slick off before too much longer. And we are already under caution, and it's Snyder who's around.
Looks like Snyder just a little overzealous coming into that turn and just had some bad luck in getting that spin there.
And you see him having a good drift there coming off of 4. It's going to be on the next lap that it's going to happen as you guys are turning sub-20-second laps around this joint. You see it hanging out right there, coming off of 2. And just gets down into that slick stuff on the bottom, overcooks it, and boop. Not too big of an issue. Everybody else had it well spotted. Gets it pointed back in the right direction, and we are under caution for the first time. And Dayoka has put it on the hauler.
Just a few laps in, and of course Dayoka dropping out of this one early. Maybe felt like he couldn't get it repaired in time to make a competitive run, but being so early on in this race, you know, drivers have a chance to go in, fix their cars, get it back on the track, and with 130 laps scheduled, you never know what's going to happen here at Bristol.
Oh, absolutely. You know, especially with the fact that these guys aren't allowed to run tape on the radiators, and there's not really a way to clean the radiator intake on these cars. So that's something these guys are really going to have to be mindful of, especially when they get into traffic. It's going to come down to survival of who can keep that engine cool for all 130 laps.
So true. How close is too close drivers really having to make that judgment call so they're not packing themselves up with dirt there in that front grille.
Well, I remember the first practice session that they had. These guys were used to running, 3.5 inches off of each other, nose to tail, and guys were coming in and you could not see out the windshield. They had to undo the window net and stick their head out to get into the garage.
And another large factor, we were talking about it earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most dirt cars not having those windshields, so just another element that these drivers have to contend with here, trying to keep that window somewhat clean so you can get some good vision as you're driving around this track.
Tear-offs don't go on the car, they go on the visor of the helmet. Ask any dirt racer, they'll tell you. But Gilbert gonna lead us back to green as the lights are out on the pace car. Eason up into second, Wenzel and Schlosser third and fourth. Aiello, Packard, and Schneider all out on track still. So we still have 7 in contention here tonight, all on the lead lap. As they come out of turn number 4, pace car is in. Gilbert has the button into the Geico restart zone, and we are back underway. Side by side for second.
No surprises there. Gilbert getting out to a good lead. Looks like Eason has that advantage for now, grabbing that second place spot with Wenzel following close behind as Schlosser had to drop back just a little there and find a groove as he can fight his way back up into this third and fourth battle as we see it going on now.
Schlosser seems to be a little bit more comfortable on the top side, and if he's on the bottom side on that restart, it just sent him right to the back. But he has recouped, he has recovered, and we're back underway as Gilbert, Eason, Wenzel, and Schlosser all within a second of each other so far. This is the closest battle we've had so far for the lead as Gilbert and Eason starting to pull a little bit of a gap on Wenzel and Schneider.
Perhaps after those caution laps, finding a little bit of a groove in the track and getting themselves comfortable as it seems like they're settling in for what could be a long battle here at this 130-lap race.
No, it absolutely can be as we're working lap 14 of 130. So a tenth of the way through this piece. And you're going to want to keep your eye in the corners, folks. If you see it start to go shiny, like it is going into 1 in the middle of the track, that's bad. That's a slick spot, and that's something you guys are going to have to be mindful of all night long. And you can see it starting to form going into 3 as well, as they're working a second cushion up there. Gilbert seems to be working a little bit better as the battle for third starting to get hot and heavy as Wenzel and Schneider now going after each other nose to tail. A little bit of contact, and around goes Wenzel. And around goes Schneider. And around goes Schlosser. Just for good measure.
And the unfortunate consequence of dirt, right? Especially in a car that's not truly designed for it. You're battling close, you're doing everything you can. You want to try to keep it clean, but as soon as you make contact, that car is going to start doing some weird things, and driver's just not able to keep it under control there.
Oh, yeah, and, it happens. There was no malice meant to that. It wasn't, a Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano situation. It was just wrong timing. But again, everybody stays on the lead lap, so we're good to go here. As caution number 2 out. No takers down pit road for this one. I take that back. Schneider looks... Oh, no, he came down on the last caution. Just to make
Stack
sure
them back up and send them back racing, right?
That's exactly what we're going to do. Is lights should be out next time by. Let us know who you're pulling for in the live chat. We'll try to highlight your favorite driver as the night wears on. As there is your current race leader, Chris Gilbert out of Colorado Springs, has led all 18 laps so far here tonight. John Easton kind of biding his time from what it looks like. That Ford is looking strong, but I don't know how strong it's going to be moving forward.
Absolutely, they have been battling. I think as the laps kind of count down and as things wear on, Eason may start to become a little bit more aggressive. I've been keeping an eye on the lap times. It looks like they're running fairly close. So I have to wonder if Eason is maybe just holding back a little bit, knowing it's still early on in this run.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to. Right now, all you're doing is looking for where the moisture is, and it's going to change throughout the night.
Green flag.
As Gilbert jumps on the loud pedal, we're back underway. Here comes Schlosser up the inside. You can see that slick stuff. He's already dealing with it. Here comes the 5, really letting that tail wag.
That inside line just still not quite able to get as good of a jump as I think they want to see there. Outside line there, the 5 just rolling right around the 40, trying to find his way back up there and get in contention for that second place position.
Absolutely. Is 40 almost puts the 80, well, does put the 81 in the wall, pinched him up there. The 80 little Wenzel still all over him. As we've got a new leader. The 04 of Easton got by Snyder coming off a 4. Nice pass.
Snyder looking at that inside lane, maybe trying to find some speed, find a different line. Eason easily making his way around the outside and costing Gilbert quite a few spots here as he's back to 4th.
He is back to 4th, battling with Wenzel right now. As that battle for the lead still hot and heavy. As the 5 into the wall. Pancakes, it keeps it up there. That's going to let Eason get some breathing room. Here comes Schlosser. As Gilbert and Wenzel still going after each other. Gilbert on the low side, Wenzel rim riding. And you can hear the body panels just creaking. And around goes the 35.
Yellow flag is out.
Hit that slick spot in 1, and around she went.
Slick spots really starting to form, as you mentioned, hearing those cars starting to slide up and get into that wall. Have to wonder how much abuse they can take and if these drivers will try to find a line to kind of keep the car clean for a while, as we still got a long way to go.
That's going to be the key, is keeping that right side clean. As we're on board with Gilbert, and there you can see he got down on the apron. It doesn't seem like much, but there is a transition there, and he clipped that transition, and around that car went as it just unloaded itself.
And you mentioned that transition zone. I mean, here at Bristol, I'm not super familiar with running the dirt, as we haven't gotten to see a whole lot of it here on the iRacing service. But at the asphalt track, right, you catch that apron, that's a rough way to go, even on asphalt. So to see it happen here on dirt, I can only imagine how quickly that's going to cause you to lose traction and lose that car under you.
And you think it's bad just touching it. Wait till they try to come down pit road under green flag conditions for fuel. Because I don't think you can get 130 laps out of a 70% fuel fill here tonight. We're going to find out. Pace car is in. Easton has the button.
Green flag, green flag.
He jumps on the loud pedal, and we are back underway. Eason, Snyder, Wenzel, Schlosser, Packard, the top 5. And the 5 power move around the outside. Schneider to the lead.
Eason was trying to make that inside line work, but Snyder certainly showing him that outside line still has some speed as he is up into the wall, and Eason takes back over.
Schneider jumped the cushion as Eaton jumps the cushion through 1 and 2. That's going to let Schneider get back by him, and here comes Wenzel. Here comes the 40 of Schlosser, and the 4 is back into the wall.
Drivers certainly trying to find the absolute edge that they can here, as the top line seems to be the way to go, but just sliding up into the top again as we see Wenzel now up into the wall.
Wenzel up into the wall, still trying to get that collected as the 4 of Easton gets back by him. Oy. The 40 of Schlosser banks it off the turn 3-4 center and sends it down the front stretch. Meanwhile, Nick Schneider in the 5 has stretched out a 2-second gap, and around goes to 81.
Yellow.
A little too aggressive on the loud pedal, trying to come off a 2.
Drivers just trying to get all that they can, trying to figure out a spot where they can really get these cars to run good lap times, right? And just having issues, and we've seen a couple of cars jump that cushion, go up into the wall. And there you see the consequence of maybe trying to get back to that pedal just a little too early.
You can hear it right there, and he just barely missed those water barrels at the end of the pit wall. That would have been disastrous had he collected those. And just like that, I believe this is caution number 4. Yes, it is.
I believe it is, yes. And racking and stacking them back up again, looking to get going. We see Nick Snyder there in the lead, in control. Should be interesting to see, as this restart has proven that inside line just doesn't quite seem to have the speed coming through 1 and 2.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, and I'm surprised he's electing to take that inside, because it hasn't worked for anybody yet. As the pace car is in, Schneider has the button.
Green, green, green.
Jumps on the loud pedal, and we are back underway. As Schlosser, you see the slick stuff starting to form in the middle of 1 and 2. Here comes Gilbert back on the outside as he gets back around Eason.
Definitely the advantage of the restart there. Snyder took no time trying to make his way back up to the top and really just trying to stretch out that lead as we see this battle here behind him. In 3rd and 4th position, you have Gilbert and Eason trying to settle out who's going to finally take that third position.
Schlosser and Gilbert starting to heat things up for 2nd as well. It's only a couple car lengths separate 1, 2, 3, and 4 from each other. Gilbert running some pretty solid laps right now. He was the fastest car on track last time by. As he closes in on Schlosser, running just a little bit lower. Schlosser catching a little too much of that cushion through 3 and 4 and gets that car up into the slick stuff. Hang on to her. Gilbert had to let off.
Cars getting very close together there if they didn't make contact, and certainly pushing for all that they can, battling for that 2nd position as Snyder continues to pull away.
Schlosser and Gilbert still have not given up on each other. As behind these two guys, Eason and Wenzel, Eason finally got it sorted out as Gilbert gets the run off of 4 to get by Schlosser. Now sets his sights on trying to reel Schneider in, who's 2 seconds up the road. And 2 seconds might not seem like a lot. Let me show you what 2 seconds looks like, folks. That's the leader in front of him. Almost the distance of the front straightaway.
A very large gap when you consider how short this track is.
Not anymore.
20-second lap time.
Schneider caught the wall. That's going to let Gilbert get a run.
Gap. Drivers looking to take advantage of any event here on track that they can, and that mistake on Snyder costing him up to half a second there in that gap, and closing in now on almost a second between those two cars.
Wenzel and Eason. Wenzel getting by Easton right now. Easton got it all wrong coming through 2 that last time by. Behind him is Packard and Aiello. Aiello on the low side, Packard on the top shelf. Packard gets a little too much of the cushion, but Aiello can't really get the power down.
Drivers struggling to find
Wenzel
their grip here at the back of the field.
They were trying to hit each other, but missed 3 times.
Leader now coming around and should provide a little bit of an element of surprise here as he gets by him on the straightaway. Not too much trouble, but it might hold Gilbert up just a little bit as he comes through turns 1 and 2 here.
It looks like he's experimenting with that slider line coming through 1 and 2. When he caught the slick stuff going into 3, that could cost him. Bangs the cushion coming off of 4. And that's letting Gilbert reel him in. Snyder keeps putting the right rear in that slick. Gilbert is getting a better drive off the corners, it looks like.
That battle now down to just 0.3 of a second from what I can see. Gilbert really looking for every advantage he can here. Looks like they're going to be side by side as we head down into turns 1 and 2. Gilbert getting that low line with Snyder to the outside. Looks like Snyder's going to be able to pull away as they head down the back straightaway here.
Well, they're doing everything they can to try to stay off of each other. They want this clean. As Snyder jumps the cushion again and eats the wall. That's going to open the door for Gilbert. Snyder going to battle back coming off of 4. Gets the run going into 1. And overcooks it again. Gilbert back to the point. Gilbert, Schneider, Schlosser, Wenzel, Easton, your top 5.
Gilbert still up to the point, but Snyder, make no mistake about it, he is battling back as hard as he can as that battle stays within a second here, doing everything he can to try to catch back up.
The 81 of Wenzel and Jonathan Easton going after each other now for 4th. The 81 of Wenzel ripping the top as, almost gets down into Easton. Easton had it well spotted, though, and stays off him. Clean pass, and we stay green.
Keeping these cars rolling, keeping them moving. They are certainly battling for positions anywhere they can get them, trying to take advantage as both Easton and Wenzel looks like they jump over the curb there for a second. Just trying to get that high line to get them rolling and try to keep that momentum.
And you got to feel for Mike Aiello Jr. right now is that car is not handling how he wants it to, and he's already gone a lap down, and he almost got into that battle for 3rd.
Certainly just trying to find some space on the track as these lap cars will make it interesting for our leaders as they continue to find their way past them.
2 distinct battles forming up as Snyder and Schlosser are going after each other, and then Easton and Wenzel are going after each other for 4th and 5th. So battle for 2nd, battle for 4th, hot and heavy right now. The 5 flirting with that high line, getting maybe trying to channel his inner Kyle Larson, and just getting that tail end a little too out of shape.
As we mentioned, that battle for 4th and 5th, it looks like Wenzel got a little bit loose, but we do stay green. Wenzel losing a ton of momentum there in that battle, and the battle up front with Schlosser and Snyder, it looks like Schlosser has managed to overtake Snyder there.
He did. He got a much better run coming through 1 and 2 as they're coming up on the lap car of Aiello. Aiello getting down and out of the way, but you can see just how slick the entrance to 1 is getting as the 5 of Snyder backs it into the wall.
Lap traffic playing a factor as that was Reggie Packard there on the screen that you saw. Snyder trying to get around. Schlosser doing everything he can as Gilbert is now out to a 6-second lead.
Is Wenzel going to be the first one to bring it pit side? You got to wonder. Oh. Aiello's around. What happened there? You see him down on the low side, gets into the slick stuff. That's going to be next time by that it's going to happen. Oy! Just catches too much of that apron, tries to lay the power in, and almost puts it into the garage.
We see Schlosser in from the 2nd position, making a pit stop here under the caution conditions.
As you do. Looks like 4 fuel down and away.
Getting some fresh tires on that, getting it fueled back up, and as we're looking into this run, it looks like the fuel might only last around 60 laps, as I am seeing some other cars staying out, so they have to feel confident enough that they have enough fuel to get a little deeper into this run, but certainly don't think we'll see anyone make it to the end yet.
You're definitely going to have to come down for fuel with a 70% fuel fill and 130 laps scheduled here tonight on the dirt. But if that's the case, Schlosser just came down on 55. He's going to need to go almost 65 laps to get to the end.
That he would. It would certainly be a long run there. Not sure if he can make it, but there definitely had to be a strategy in his mind.
Possibly the fresh tires was the strategy, and might as well get fuel while you're there. Snyder getting the much better jump on the outside lane. Gilbert battling back. Snyder, again, flirting with that wall off of 2. Side by side down the back chute into turn number 3. And Gilbert pinched down on that low side, not happy right now.
But for the first time tonight, it looks like that inside line is able to fight back decently well as Snyder and Gilbert continue to go at it as we head into 1 and 2 here. Snyder getting a little high and grabbing the wall there.
It's going to let Gilbert get a little bit of momentum there as Schlosser has gotten by Eason and it's already starting to reel in Snyder. As Gilbert starts to steadily walk away, at 5 is all over the joint.
Close call. Drivers sliding around and barely missing each other there. The 40 and the 5 managing to keep it clean as Schlosser is now setting his sights on the leader, and we have yellow out again.
I don't have it. I have no idea what it's for.
I'm not 100% sure there. On that last lap, I did see a car dive towards pit road, possibly a solo spin down there towards pit entry.
Oh, that's what it was. It was Aiello. Yep, Aiello looped it trying to get onto pit road, and that brought out the next caution. And it looks like Snyder and Easton are going to bring them both down pit side. And it's going to move Schlosser up into second. Gilbert's still showing the way, though.
Gilbert showing the way, has yet to pit. Certainly showing me that these cars have a bit more fuel in them than I anticipated. Possibly looking for pit road this time by, as it looks like he'll come down.
Waited for the last possible second to put fuel in that thing, it looks like. As there is Schlosser, who's going to be your control car when we go back to green. No Toyotas in the field tonight. 2 Fords, 3 Chevys, another Ford, and everybody else is out of the race.
Drivers having some rough luck out there tonight, of course. Seen drivers getting into the wall. Seen some very close calls, of course, between the drivers here. Have to wonder how much abuse these cars are going to be able to take as we are only about halfway through this race.
You're absolutely right. And with this being a rollout day, Iracing did a major update earlier today. We don't know exactly what was changed in the damage model. And that was something that they rolled out just before Christmas, I believe it was, where parts would fatigue after banging the wall repeatedly.
Yes, and with that fatigue damage model, certainly Bristol Dirt being one of those tracks where there's really not a way around the track without scraping the wall a couple of times. Even your best drivers are going to have some cases at least where they're getting into each other, getting into the wall. Will be interesting to see how these cars hold up and manage to finish this run.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, incidental contact with the wall, okay, that's fine. But if you pound the wall a couple of times, you're going to start bending pieces, and that car is going to start to get very ill handling. And Chris Gilbert just went a lap down on pit road. That is very bizarre.
Possibly an interesting strategy. I don't think he had that much damage, but they are back under green flag here as we've seen Schlosser take the low side and lead the field back to green.
Gets up onto that slider line as the 5 of Snyder gets into the 4 of Easton. And here comes Gilbert trying to get his lap back the hard way. 5 up on the cushion with the fresh tires. Here comes the 35 of Gilbert up his inside. Both of them into the slick stuff in one as the 40 of Schlosser jumps the cushion. That lets Gilbert get back to him, and Gilbert now back on the lead lap.
Gilbert getting that lap back the hard way as the 40 is continuing to slide up the track with Snyder now underneath him, battling down the front straightaway here as we head into 1 and 2. It looks like Snyder will have the advantage, followed closely by that 4 of Eason now looking under Schlosser. Looks like they will battle it out as we head into 3 and 4 with the 40 having a slight advantage. I take that back. The 40 had a slide there, and the 4 is getting away clean down the front straightaway.
Caught a little too much of the slick stuff in the middle of 3 and 4, and that caused the back end to wash out, and Eason really letting it hang out there. That's not something you'd normally want to see on the dirt side of things. You want to try to keep the car as straight as possible. But, yeah, absolutely. As Schneider now shows the way in the 5. Eason in second, Schlosser in third, and Gilbert now back on the lead lap, but he's got an uphill battle to try to make up.
Gilbert absolutely fighting as hard as he can to stay on the lead lap, of course, and Snyder doing what he can to put him back a lap down, as I'm sure that is a car that he doesn't want to see back behind him if the field does stack up again.
Hard no. Eason jumps the cushion and contact with the 40. How is that not a caution? No caution?
I still don't see the pace car rolling, so I guess we will stay green here.
Better late than pregnant. Schlosser and Eason getting into each other there. Schlosser's going to get a run here. Eason jumps the cushion there, gets down into him, and the old Spanish Archer, the old elbow, and around goes the 40.
And of course, with Gilbert fighting to get his lap back the hard way here, he will restack up right behind these lead lap cars, making his fight just a little bit easier to get back to the front.
And while we are under caution, we're going to go side by side, so you're not going to miss a thing. We'll be right back after we pay some bills. And we are back at Bristol, working lap 84 of 130 for round number 5 of the GUNR4sR Cup Series. Nick Schneider, a 2 3/4 to the good, as Chris Gilbert has gotten back up into second after being a lap down not too long ago. Matt Schlosser holds down third. Jonathan Eason in the 04, rounding out your lead lap cars. Reggie Packard in fifth, and Mike Aiello Jr. rounding out the cars still running back there in sixth.
Field starting to look absolutely slick here as they spread out. It looks like they're just trying to find some clean space, find a spot where that car is getting comfortable. With this track being as slick as it is, it seems like drivers are fighting more of the track conditions than they are each other, but it does look like Gilbert is slowly finding his way back up to Snyder there.
Fastest car on the track last time by almost a full tenth. Actually make that half a second. Schlosser had a good run as well last time by. Schneider starting to fall back into the clutches. It was almost a 2-second gap. Now it's just over half a second. Gilbert starting to pour on the coals.
Gilbert coming back from that lap down scenario, now easily coming up to the bumper of Snyder as Snyder slid a bit there in 1 and 2. Looks like this battle will be much closer and may heat up quite a bit as we head down here towards 1 and 2 again.
I don't think we're done with this battle by any stretch of the imagination. There's a 35 trying to diamond the corner. That's a pavement move. That doesn't usually work too well on dirt unless you're in a midget car. Schneider trying to arc the corners again as they come up on the lap car. That's the 77 of Mike Aiello Jr. getting up and out of the way. And you can see just how shiny and slick that track is getting in the middle of 1 and 2.
Gilbert looking toward the inside of Snyder here as they head into 3 and 4.
Contact.
Sliding together, making contact.
Keeps pointing in the right direction, gives up a lot, but we stay green as Schlosser's gotten back by him now. Schlosser seems to have found a handle on the 40 finally.
Schlosser catching up, making time per lap here. Looks like he was around 3/10 better last lap. We'll see what it is here as they come across the line. You have Schlosser almost 7/10 of a second better than our leader right now, as that battle is really starting to get a lot closer, within half a second of each other now.
Schneider is starting to let the tail end of that 5 hang out just a little more than I would be comfortable doing. And Schlosser looks like he's trying to pavement drive the corner a little bit more and not let the tail wag. And you can see it right there. Schlosser gets a little bit better run off of 2. Schneider starting to scramble for his life, running the top side, trying to rip the rim. As now Schlosser gets into the slick stuff.
Back and forth and back and forth. These drivers just waiting for the right opportunity to present itself. Snyder trying to run away. Schlosser trying to make everything he can time-wise on Snyder as they come around 3 and 4, heading back to the straight stretch.
Schneider, Schlosser, Gilbert, Eason, your top 4 and lead lap cars. Mike Aiello Jr. in 5th. The last car is still running as Reggie Packard has decided to put it on the hauler.
Laps counting down here as we are coming to 96 of 130. Snyder still in the lead for now, but only a 4/10 of a second gap between them, running identical lap times between Snyder and Schlosser there. The 40 looking for any advantage he can get from the 5 right now. That 5 really coming to life in the last couple of laps.
He's starting to get it figured out, which, you know, that's the biggest thing about dirt racing. As a matter of fact, let's go on board. Let's go on board with Schlosser. This is what he's seeing right now. And you can see just how slick that car is getting in the middle of the corner. You can hear he's just got to be ever so gentle on that throttle pedal.
Working the throttle, working the wheel, doing everything he can to find that time. Gaining a little bit as Snyder gets up into the wall there by the sounds of it. Taking a look quickly, still battling side by side, doesn't seem to have hurt him too much.
I heard one driver tell me one time at Lebanon Valley Speedway that driving a dirt car, you steer it as much with the brake as you do with the accelerator. He said it's like tap dancing on a landmine. And it took me a little bit to realize what he was trying to say, but he's absolutely right. It is like tap dancing on a landmine. And speaking of landmine, boom goes the dynamite as Schneider eats the wall in two.
Snyder not giving up yet as Schlosser did get by him. He is fighting back as much as he can. Those lap times so close together. Drivers still battling within 0.2 of a second of each other here.
Absolutely. As here comes Schneider throwing one in there, gets into the slick stuff, has to really feather it coming off of four, side by side down the front chute. Schneider now throws the slider, jumps the cushion, bangs the wall. That's going to let Schlosser get back by him. And it looks like Eason had problems.
Saw Eason there at the bottom of your screen as these cars came out of 1 and 2 going a lap down. Gilbert now slowly finding his way back into this fight, catching up with Snyder here. We will see that start to develop here in just a short time as Gilbert looks like he was the fastest car on track the last lap.
By half a second, he was the fastest car on track last time by. As Snyder's still trying to reel Schlosser back in. Schlosser able to maintain that distance, but Gilbert's starting to steadily reel Snyder in. Snyder's going to have to worry about Gilbert more than he's going to have to worry about Schlosser here before too much longer, as we are inside 30 to go.
30 to go. These cars running very competitive lap times, so close to each other, as we mentioned, making up halves here, halves there, but seems like on the very next lap, those cars are either running identical laps or back within a few tenths of each other.
And that goes for your entire podium right now, is less than a full tenth separating Schlosser from Gilbert in third as far as what their lap times were. And only about half a second separation between the cars. So lap times are starting to come back down, surprisingly.
Could be that these drivers are finding a little bit more comfort in their cars and certainly seeing those laps tick by, knowing that it is go time, trying to find their way to the best finish position that they can get here as we see Gilbert and Snyder side by side through 1 and 2. Coming down the back straightaway here will be a battle in 3 and 4 with Gilbert to the inside.
Gilbert going to take the low line. Schneider takes the top shelf. Gilbert cannot throw the slider. Schneider going to get back by him. Drag race going into 1. Gilbert's going to have to send it as Schneider sends it even harder. Gilbert gets a little bit squirrely on the low side, gets into that slick stuff, gets it pointed back in the right direction, and that battling for second has let Schlosser pull out almost a full second to the good.
And battling they were, as Snyder having just as much issue, it looks like, on that top side, finding a little bit of the wall as Gilbert is also sliding around the middle of the corner there.
Schneider jumps the cushion. That's going to let Gilbert get by him. Now Gilbert, he caught that apron. And there goes the battle for second. For now, anyways, as Schneider letting it hang out a little bit as we are 20 to go next time by. Schlosser a year later.
Slick cars absolutely battling for this second place position as they spread back out here. We only have a short time. You have to think it's on the back of these drivers' mind that they have to find everything they can and take advantage of those mistakes now. Well,
the question still remains, does Schlosser have enough fuel to get home from here? Because he came down on lap 55, Schneider came down on 63,
Yellow.
and there's our answer. Looks like Easton having problems. Well, that is definitely going to help things out with the fuel mileage gain.
Certainly keeping an eye on our leader here, as he would be the car that wouldn't have enough fuel out of the group if the pit run is what we expect. It looks like
he came pit
both
side.
Slosser and Snyder are going pit side. That will rotate Gilbert up to the control car when we come back to green.
There you see Snyder and Slosser hitting their boxes. Looks like they're taking that final set of tires. Gilbert was last down on 73, so, you know, he's already got almost 50 laps on those tires. Is there enough tread left on those Goodyears?
Certainly had a long run there on those tires, but had the advantage possibly of fuel with having a 10-lap advantage over the other two drivers of Slosser and Snyder, as I believe Snyder was last down on 55 and Slosser on 63.
Correct. But now they're both down on 112. Gilbert can make it, but the question is, how adversely is that car going to handle with the light load of fuel in the trunk? Whereas Slosser and Snyder just tighten their cars up by adding, 50 pounds of fluid to the rear of the car. It's a double-edged sword there, because yes, you now have more weight over the rear axle, but it can also act like a pendulum and just send you around if you get it a little too sideways.
Certainly something to be said of both strategies. Not only are they adding a little bit of weight to that car, but they're adding some traction on those fresh Goodyears. Will make an interesting restart for sure, as it looks like we will be getting the lights out here this time by.
So we're going to restart with 14 to go. Or at least we should be. The lights are still on the pace car. Gilbert, Slosser, Schneider, Easton, your top four. As Mike Aiello Jr. still slugging away at it. Currently sits back in fifth, but Easton's been on pit road for over a minute. And Aiello is on track, so he could make up those 2 laps very easily. Make that now a lap and a half is all he's got to make up.
Certainly must have been some large damage to the car there as Easton continues to sit on pit road, making an interesting call as he is back out. Have to wonder if he got enough of it repaired to stay in front of Mike.
Well, that's going to be the question, as the lights are out on the pace car. It looks like we've gone single file. Inside 20 to go, we've gone single file on the restart. Lights are out on the pace car. Everybody lined up on that top shelf. Here we go.
Green flag, green flag.
Here's your top 3 all restart together. Gilbert, Schneider, and Slosser. Slosser and Snyder with the fresh tires.
Snyder looking to the inside, seeming to make it work there out of 1 and 2. Getting a huge run down the back straightaway and coming out of 3 and 4. It looks like he will lead this lap as we go back to the green.
And Snyder is Gilbert and Snyder leads. Gilbert eats the wall in 1 and 2. Slosser going to get a better run off of 2, get the lead away, or get the second away from him. These guys are trying to settle this podium between the 3 of them. Snyder's Chevy, Slosser's Ford, and Gilbert's Chevy. Your podium as we sit right now. 12 laps to go. Slosser and Snyder on the fresh tires, starting to pull on Gilbert. Over half a second to the good was Snyder last time by. See what this lap looks like.
They were able to widen that gap out just a little bit as Snyder continues to find the wall here in 1 and 2, and Slosser coming down on the back straightaway, taking the inside, heading into 3 and 4.
Slosser going to throw the slider. Little chrome horn action from Schneider, not too happy. As the 5 goes around. 10 to go. And how is that not a caution?
Flag still not out from what I can see
There
here.
it is.
The 40 is in the lead. Schlosser, Gilbert, Snyder as we stand right now. We're going to have to see how bad that damage will affect Snyder's run.
Well, there he is eating the wall through 1 and 2. Into 3 and 4 they go. Slide job from the 40. 5 gives him a 2. And just the old Spanish archer, the elbow. And around goes the 05. And it takes a second for the sim to register the fact that that should be a caution. All right, then. We're going to have a short track Saturday night shootout here to finish this thing.
We started with 8, now down to 5 drivers still battling it out here for a finish position at the Bristol Dirt Speedway Coliseum. Last great Coliseum of NASCAR for those fans that are still unsure of how we classify the Coliseum. But Schlosser, of course, bringing us back to the green flag when we get there. Gilbert close behind, and Snyder fighting for the podium.
I just want to go on record as saying I try not to classify the Coliseum because that's not really a NASCAR track. Although I guess it's the closest thing that iRacing is going to give us to Bowman Gray Stadium, which is where that race should be held to begin with.
A fair argument. I will not argue that one. Coliseum, of course, making its debut a few years ago now, but we'll have to see if NASCAR continues the trend of the Coliseum or if they will possibly look at some other venues as we head forward into the coming seasons.
Well, they're not going to need to with Fontana going to a short track. It wouldn't make any sense to do that to the Coliseum once a year when you got Fontana just a little bit up the road.
Fontana close by, another short track, but there is something to be said of the Busch Light Clash being a special race. I think NASCAR could really find a great opportunity in converting several venues throughout the U.S. Southern U.S., there are some great cities that would be more than happy to host a race, I'm sure.
Well, there's a lot of tracks in the area that NASCAR could come into and host a special event that are already there. They're already, venues. And it would mean so much to get a NASCAR race, even if it is just a special one-off, as we get ready to restart with 5 to go.
Green.
Schlosser has the button, jumps on the loud pedal. We are back underway, and here comes Snyder.
Snyder taking advantage of that restart, trying to get every ounce he could right on the bumper of Schlosser there, close to Gilbert as they exit 1 and 2, trying to make up ground and take it away here as he takes the high line, heading into 3 and 4, coming around to the front straightaway. Will the 5 have enough of a run to get to the inside of the 40 here?
4 laps to go, side by side, they're sliding. Formula Drift, eat your heart out. You guys do it on pavement, that's cute. Try it on dirt. Schneider and Schlosser now goes door to door, coming through 3 and 4. Schneider with the nose out front. Schlosser caught in that low side, got into the slick. 3 to go.
Battling it out. These top 3 taking every chance they can. You saw Gilbert there getting up to the bumper of Schlosser. Gilbert, of course, battling for that second spot, trying to get anything he can get out of that car on those older tires. You have Nick Snyder pulling out to a little bit of a lead as Schlosser tries to chase him down. We are 129, 2 to go.
Schneider continues to show the way. Schlosser and Gilbert starting to let him get away as they come through 3 and 4. Schneider can see the white flag in the air coming down the start-finish line straight. We are racing back to checkers, Dave.
White flag in the air. Snyder taking the high line there in 1 and 2. Schlosser trying to do everything he can to make up some ground coming down the back straightaway as they head into 3 and 4. Snyder taking the high line. Schlosser looking to the mid side. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to make up enough ground, though, as Snyder comes across, taking the checkered flag. Schlosser in second, Gilbert in third.
John Easton going to cross in fourth. And Mike Aiello Jr. had a night he just as soon forget, but did come home with a top 5 finish.
Able to get that top 5 and absolutely survive the carnage that was, as mentioned. You know, we started with 8 cars on the track, finishing here with 5 cars taking the checkered flag. So something to be said of being able to keep that car out on the track all night long and bring it across the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Nick Schneider out of Marco Island, Florida, winning round 5. And, oh, look, his profile picture. That's a dirt car. We had a dirt ringer in the field.
What do you know? A guy who's used to racing on dirt, something to be said there.
Absolutely. Is from the looks of it, that's either a sprint car or a mini sprint. Either way, it's a winged sprint car of some sort. As we're just waiting for him to turn his ears and microphone on, and we will be interviewing him momentarily here. Is what a race! I mean, it was a short field, of course, but we still had some pretty good action. A lot of slicing and dicing through most of this race between your top 4. As yeah.
Certainly provided some good runs throughout this race, saw some battling, had these drivers side by side and real close together as we still are waiting.
Dave,
can you hear us, Nick?
I believe you've got Nick Schneider with you now.
Yeah, I'm here now.
All right, Nick, congrats on that win. What a run all night long. Tell us what was going through your mind there, especially those last couple of laps with the 40 machine behind you, fighting to do everything he could with that short run to the finish.
It really was just a hard battle. I struggled keeping the car in the bottom. Chris and Matt did a phenomenal job just rolling the bottom. I was just way too tight to even roll it. And once they kind of got by me, I just had to search around for grip or something for the car just to be able to turn the center off.
We saw those loose conditions all night long. You said that you had a very tight race car. Tell us how it was running the top of the track, especially there towards the middle of this race. It looked like that top line was getting super slick and drivers were just having such a hard time keeping it under the cushion.
Yeah, the top is very treacherous. You hit it too hard, you slam the front, as I've done it multiple times this race. It's just, the part of it, how much do you want to use the right side up? When 10 to go, it's all or nothing. And be able to come back, luckily we got a lot of cars a lap down early on, and that kind of just helped me stay in third position and stuff, to be able to use the fresh tires and, just be able to get a good jump on Matt, because I knew he would go to the bottom.
Well, Nick, it was great to see you guys battle all night long. Obviously, a great result here for you tonight. We'd like to give you the opportunity now if there are some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, just thanks to everyone that is watching. Hopefully we put on a good race. Thank you for Billy for, watching me as well, as he's my agent for racing. And, thank you for you guys for taking your Tuesday night time.
All right, Nick, thank you. Congrats again on winning this race. Bristol Dirt, a special win. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.
Nick, real quick. Sprint car or mini sprint
Yes,
in your profile picture?
Sprint car. 360.
Very cool. Very cool. I love me some
Yes, sir.
I love me small block sprints. But congratulations, Nick, and we will see you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
And David, that puts another one in the books for us as taking a quick look at our finishing order here tonight. Nick Schneider, we just heard from him. Matt Slosser hanging on for second. Chris Gilbert in third. John Easton running out your top four. Only your top three on the lead lap. Easton went 3 laps down. Mike Aiello Jr. finishing the race 5 laps down. Reggie Packard, Jordan Wenzel, and Adam Montez de Oca putting it on the hauler all early. Travis Bennett not taking the green. So that is going to do it for us tonight. Be sure to join us tomorrow night for the SCL Street Stocks. He's David Modespaw. I'm Tony Trapasser. Reminding you, ladies and gentlemen, that until we meet again, and as you walk down the road of life, do me a favor. Don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.